Yo! Welcome back to the SUPES channel. My name is Matthew Ramos, and on this channel, I aim to entertain, inform, and inspire using the topic of discussion as always, which is superheroes. So guys, now that we finally got Aquaman, which is obviously the final DCEU film of 2018, and the coming year, 2019, it's looking a little scarce of the DCEU movies, as Shazam is the only DCEU movie that we're going to be getting in 2019. But before we get to Shazam, I want to rate all of the DCEU movies from the beginning all the way to Aquaman. There's six films in total, and I'm going to rate them today. So let's just get right into it. So guys, not going to lie, I think this is the first video I've ever done without my hat, because I'm letting my hair grow out for Avengers 4. I'm going to be cosplaying as Cap, but we'll get to that later. So, coming in at number 6, the worst of the worst out of the entire DCEU is Suicide Squad. Now, this movie is horrible. Horrible. Absolutely trash. The entire plot basically consists of them landing in a city and going from point A to point B. Like that is the gist of the plot. And for me, the best parts of this film were obviously Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie. Can't get enough of her. And Will Smith as Deadshot. But yeah, Suicide Squad, worst of the worst. And it's funny that I say that, because in the trailers for Suicide Squad, there's that dinner scene with Amanda Waller where she's assembling the squad and she's like, oh yeah, I got him, worst of the worst. And guess what? Suicide Squad is worst of the worst. So that's why Suicide Squad is coming in at number 6. This movie is trash. The plot, trash. Villain, trash. And the only two good things that came out of this film was a little Batman cameo, Easter eggs, and Harley Quinn and Deadshot. So that's the only two good things that came out of this film, and that's why it's coming in at number 6. Next on the list is a film that should be at the top, but for some reason it's coming in at number 5, second to last, and this is Justice League. So guys, Justice League, obviously a very highly anticipated film, the final film in Zack Snyder's DC trilogy, and this film is disappointing. You know, for me, they butchered the character of Batman completely in this movie, which was, I would say, more or less the main character of Justice League, as he was like the leader of the team and he went around assembling everyone. But they butchered this character completely. You know, in this movie, his tone from Batman vs Superman completely changed, and he tried making jokes. It was just weird. And on top of that, everyone in the Justice League was kicking ass while Batman was getting his ass handed to him by one parademon. And this film just completely butchered the Batman character. Now, other than that, I absolutely hated Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash. I found it very cringy. His lines didn't hit. He wasn't funny, and he was trying to be. And it was just awkward for me when I was watching the movie, and it made me feel uncomfortable because he's like trying to be funny and like no one's laughing. So he was absolutely trash. Now, the positives of this film is obviously, I think this is the best we've seen Superman in the entire DCEU. I loved his character, and I truly felt that, you know, this was Superman at his absolute best. His suit looked amazing. Nothing that we've ever seen before. Again, another positive is seeing Gal Gadot play Wonder Woman one more time. You know, she completely owns the role of Wonder Woman, and she kicked ass in this movie one more time, which is why she has a sequel planned for 2020, because she just takes over her role as Wonder Woman and kicks ass. And I think I can speak for the rest of us when I say that we just can't get enough of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So seeing her one more time in Justice League was an absolute delight, and can't wait for a sequel coming out in 2020, Wonder Woman 1984. But yeah, this is why Justice League is coming in at number 5, because, you know, the plot is scrappy. Steppenwolf was trash. They should have just gone with Darkseid. I don't know why. And now we're never gonna get Darkseid. But yeah, Justice League coming in at number 5. Next is a film. Guys, I kid you not. I cried when this film was announced. I swear on my life, I cried when this film was announced. Not even seeing any footage, when it was announced. And this movie coming in at number 4 is Batman versus Superman. You know, I think this is the most highly anticipated superhero film out of both DC and Marvel. This was the most highly anticipated film of all of them at the time being. Of course, this was before Avengers Infinity War and before Avengers Endgame, but at the time being, I think this was the most highly anticipated superhero movie of all time. And this was one of those films where you really question and like think, can this movie become the #1 box office hit of all time? And it was definitely in that conversation. However, when the movie finally hit, you know, the critic reviews were absolutely terrible, which, you know, made this movie struggle in the box office and struggle for, you know, condensing the hype and the expectations that were, you know, set on it going into the film. My expectations were extremely high from this movie, and they were my expectations didn't, you know, they didn't live up. This movie didn't live up to the hype. Now, just because it didn't live up to the hype doesn't mean it's a bad film. I still think that they should have just released the director's cut. You know, I felt like this was a really good movie when it was being made. However, the way that Warner Brother wanted this movie to be edited and the way that they chopped down this movie just absolutely butchered the film in its entirety. And after we got that final director's cut on DVD, when this film came out, when Batman vs Superman came out on DVD, you know, that film was absolutely amazing. And I still don't know to this day why they didn't release that director's cut, which was 3 hours long, and it was a rated R movie, I believe. But Batman vs Superman coming in at number 4 because it just didn't live up to the hype, and the movie was chopped down a little too much, which made it suffer overall. Next on the list, coming in at number 3, is Aquaman. Aquaman is a film that a lot of people are saying it's their #1 DC film of all time. And to be honest, I don't know where they're getting that, because I think I hated this film more than I actually liked it. Just because, again, this film didn't live up to the hype for me. The music was absolutely garbage, and it just took me out of the film. When they were doing their little montages and background music was playing, it just took me out of the film when I was supposed to be immersed, as I was seeing one of the most badass parts of the film. And yeah, just that music took me out of the film. But besides the music, I felt that I didn't like how the character of Aquaman was written in that movie, and I didn't like how he was portrayed. I definitely felt that Jason Momoa, you know, he owned his role as Aquaman, but I didn't like his portrayal. Like, he owned the character, but I just didn't like his portrayal. You know, he's 35 to 40 years old and he's acting like a 15-year-old kid. I just didn't like that. His jokes didn't hit for me. And overall, I just didn't really like this movie. And what I did like about this movie, however, is the cinematography. The way the action sequences are filmed in this movie are next level. Something that I feel has never been done in a comic book film. Just the way they're filmed is absolutely amazing. And the action sequences are all amazing. And especially the final battle, which is actually pretty lengthy and, you know, really drags you into the movie. But overall, I I don't know how I'm more in the middle of Aquaman. I don't know whether to hate it or whether to like it. But I know that it definitely didn't meet my expectations, and that's why it's coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is one of my most favorite films. I have this film downloaded on my phone, and I have it downloaded on my phone just so I could rewatch, you know, some scenes every single time at any time I want. But this film is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was absolutely amazing. You know, I loved, you know, her little theme music. Every superhero needs their own theme music, and she definitely had, you know, a very iconic theme music that I digged. And Gal Gadot just absolutely demolished her role as Wonder Woman. And, you know, the way she acted in this movie and the way her character was written was absolutely beautiful. You know, there's a certain scene in that film where they're in the middle of a war, and she's debating with Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, where they should continue to move or help fight in the war. And she takes off her robe and walks in the middle of no man's land. And guys, this scene, this is the scene that stuck in my head when I left the movie theater. I just could not stop thinking about this. And when I was watching this scene, I literally thought that this was one of the most iconic scenes in film history. Not only did this film do so much for the character of Wonder Woman, but, you know, for women, female leads, for female directors, as the director Patty Jenkins absolutely killed this movie. And this was just an absolutely amazing film. I really liked it. I didn't have too many flaws with it. I definitely loved it more than I hated it. And I love Wonder Woman so much. I love Gal Gadot so much. And I just can't get enough of her. After seeing a tease of her in Batman vs. Superman, you know, finally getting her own solo film, she actually absolutely killed it. And I just couldn't get enough of it, which is why I'm so excited for Wonder Woman 1984 coming out sometime, I think it's June of 2020. But coming in at number 1 is one of my most favorite comic book movies of all time. Definitely my favorite superhero of all time. And it's Man of Steel. Guys, this film was absolutely crazy. I feel like this is one of the top 5 best comic book movies of all time. This is including the Dark Knight trilogy, all of the Marvel movies, and this is definitely a top 5 film in my books of all time. I just absolutely loved this, you know, movie that, you know, definitely gave justice to the character of Superman and his origins. You know, it's very hard to do a Superman film or anything Superman related because he's such an overpowered character, and he was literally designed to be invincible. He was designed to be, you know, the biggest, strongest, most invincible superhero. And in this film, they definitely did him justice. Henry Cavill killed it as Superman, and I absolutely love this movie. You know, the plot overall was beautiful. The way it was written, the pacing of the film, it progressed. It didn't feel like a drag throughout the entire movie. And it also had a really good villain. You know, there's so many good Superman villains, but they picked a villain that isn't really, you know, doesn't really have too much light shit on him, which is General Zod. And he absolutely killed it in this movie, giving Superman such a good rival. And, you know, they actually went head to head, and the ending of the film was absolutely amazing. The way you see Superman develop from the beginning of the film all the way to the end of the film is absolutely beautiful. And for me, I think that's my favorite part of the movie, just going on this journey alongside Superman and seeing him progress from someone who's scared to use his powers in the real world, from stepping up to the plate and becoming the savior of the human race. And just this is this is definitely my favorite DC movie. Superman is my favorite superhero, and this is definitely in my top 5 for best comic book movies of all time. So there you guys have it. There is my list of my DCEU movies ranked, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys liked this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.